Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Donna and this is some of my flock here. This is Sterling and Splash. They are clutch mates, and that's Rosie and Raspberry, my Rosie Bork parakeets. In today's video, I wanted to talk about diet, especially for budgies, any parakeet, or your small parrots. I get a lot of questions on my channel asking me, what do I feed my birds? When do I feed my birds? And how much do I feed my birds? So I'm going to be answering those questions coming up in a moment. So basically, my birds in my bird room pretty much all eat the same thing, with the exception of my lorikeet, who is a nectar-eating, fruit-eating bird. But he still gets some of the diet that I feed the rest of my flock. Now, I just want to talk about diet overall. When you think about what birds eat in the wild, it's really hard to mimic what we can feed them, because in the wild, if you ever want to research, look on YouTube for your type of bird, what it eats in the wild, and you'll be surprised, right? You know that they do eat bugs. They do eat bugs, and we can feed them bugs. If you can feed them bugs, go ahead. I just don't like bugs, but I can feed them dried mealworms. But the other bugs, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it, but if you can feed them bugs, that's ideal. But basically in the wild, birds will eat a lot of grass seeds, bugs, like I said, and they eat the fruits from trees. They eat leaves. They eat flower buds and flower petals. They eat a lot of different things, and they're always eating something different. They will raid a farmer's crops, right? They'll eat it all at once. Say they're eating, say it's corn or whatever, they'll all go down and eat that for weeks at a time, and then go on to something else. So they're not always eating the same thing all the time, every day or every week or every month. And some birds migrate. They migrate to other sections of the world or in their own country or whatever. They will migrate so they can go eat what's over there. And so basically, it's best to research what bird you have and what they eat in the wild, and try to mimic, what they will eat in the wild, to mimic what they eat at home. And it's kind of hard to do, but we do our best. And I'm always researching what to feed them and what the best thing to feed them is. And the best thing is feeding them a variety of foods, variety of fresh foods. You want to feed them a variety of fresh foods, especially. Now, some people even grow their own food, grow certain grasses. But you have to understand, when we buy, say, birdseed, it's been polished, it's been, in a factory, it's been put in a bag, it's been, sitting in a bag for who knows how long, then being shipped to the pet store, and then coming into our house. It's not fresh. I mean, it could be fresh if you try sprouting it, make sure it grows. And but sometimes the food can be stale. Birds are in the wild are eating fresh food all the time. Even if you're eating grass seeds, they're like eating sprouts. If you ever go look at the grass, open up some of those little pods, you'll see these seeds. They're soft and they're nice and they're freshly sprouted. Well, that's what birds are eating in the wild. They don't eat dried, polished bird seed in the wild. And I know they don't eat pellets in the wild either. But, some people do feed them, pellets and seed and fresh foods like I do. But some bird owners don't believe in pellets at all. Some bird owners don't believe in seed at all. And some bird owners don't even feed fresh foods. But you all have to do your research. So I believe in variety, so they can have a little bit of each. right? But the fresh foods, I believe, is most important, because that's how they eat in the wild. They're eating fresh foods. You know, even though wherever they come from, they don't have there's no, I've heard this before and I laughed, oh, they don't have a broccoli tree out in the wild. Well, I'm sure wherever broccoli grows, birds eat that, right? But the thing is, we have to give them a variety. So they don't eat, you know, polished birdseed that's been in a bag in the wild. They're eating nice, fresh, soft, just freshly sprouted. You can feed your birds sprouts, and that would be ideal. Sprouting seed, or, you know, any legumes is ideal. Now, I do have other videos. I'll be putting the links down below. You can go have a look. I have a chop video, a sprout video, and other videos that you can go have a look at to help you decide what to feed your bird. So basically, I'll get to the point. I feed my birds a chop. All of my birds, every single bird, gets a chop in the morning. I take away their dry food the night before, because they don't even eat at nighttime. They're sleeping. They don't need it. And birds are hungry in the morning when they wake up. So the best thing is to feed them fresh foods in the morning. I get a lot of questions saying, how do I get my birds to eat fresh foods? Well, I'll put the link down below to my other video about that. But just don't provide them with, especially millet. Take out their millet. Never put millet in their cage, you know, the whole day or in the morning, because they're going to eat that, and they're going to eat seeds if they have that. Take out all their other food. Make sure they always have water, of course. Always, always, always have water. Feed them fresh food in the morning. Now, they won't starve. I mean, you can keep it in there till, like, you know, the middle of the day, after lunch, depending on what time you put it in there. I mean, I'm up early at 7 in the morning. They get their food at between 7 and 8, and then I'll give them lunchtime. Well, I'm home, so it's easy for me, but they won't starve. They won't starve till later on. You can give them their food. So what I do is they get their fresh chop. It's a mixture of all these chopped up vegetables. It's always a different chop. I give them grains and legumes and a lot of chopped up vegetables. Now, for fruit, they get about 2 or 3 times a week. Fruits, I suggest you feed fruit in the morning, and I suggest you give them more like the berries, the blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. It's better for them than, say, apples or grapes or pears, which are more sugary. The melons are okay, you can feed them too, but feed them in the morning, because they have to wear off those calories. It'll be like drinking coffee before you go to bed and then you can't sleep, or eating a chocolate bar at 10:30 and thinking you're trying to go to bed at 11, you won't sleep, right? So you want the bird to be relaxed at night so they can sleep. So, and then for pellet wise, now I'm trying to convert my birds to the Tops pellets, which I believe, in my opinion, is the best pellet. If you research all the pellets and read the back, like the ingredients, and compare all the ingredients, then you'll see which is the best pellets. And now just remember that an all pellet diet is not ideal for them. They need the fresh vegetables, and all seed diet is really bad for them. It's very fatty. Budgies especially can get fatty liver disease, and it's not good for them. It's all fat. They need to eat other stuff as well. And they were eating the Supreme fruit pellets. They were eating those. Now, a lot of people say the colored ones are not good for them, but the color they use, I believe it's a food coloring. I really have to look into that. I can't remember. I haven't read the back in a while, but I am converting my birds to the Tops, and that way they won't eat the Supreme anymore. I'm hoping anyways. Maybe just my canaries, because I like how they make it so small. My canaries eat that. They really like it. But anyways, do research on pellets and choose the best one, because some birds won't eat a certain one. You know, some birds like another one, right? I've been through so many pellets, and now I'm trying to work my way up to the Tops pellets and that. So they do get the chop, like I said, in the morning. Then they get their pellets, and then toward the evening, I will give them some seed. I do believe each bird needs seeds. I mean, my opinion might change later on, and maybe get no seeds, but especially budgies. Canaries, I believe, need seeds for sure, budgies and canaries. And so the seeds, you know, I do have the budgie seed. I do have canary seeds because I have canaries, and I have the cockatiel seed as well. Try to limit the sunflower seeds as they're fatty, and safflower, I use them for treats, but there's some of them in the cockatiel seed. And so I do have a variety of different seeds that I give them, but how I give it to them, I give them, a certain amount. I only give them enough to eat in the evening. I don't fill the whole bowl. They just get like, I don't know, a teaspoon maybe. Depends, because all my budgies live together, so I'll give them enough, what each one would get. So if you want to see how much to feed your bird, you want to measure out the food, and make sure you weigh your bird too. You don't want to overfeed them. If you weigh your bird, you can see if it's gaining weight to lessen the amount of food. And it's the seeds that'll make them overweight. So what I do for one single bird, you can give like a half a teaspoon. Just give them enough what they're going to eat at that feeding, because I've seen on Facebook and some of the bird groups, people are putting in a whole bowl of seed, and they're saying, oh, how do you get rid of the hulls? They're blowing it off and it's blowing all over the place in their face. You don't need to blow off the hulls. It's that you're blowing off the hulls because there's too much food in there, and it's going to get stale and dirty and dusty from the birds, bathing and maybe pooping in it. So you only want to give enough that they can eat at one time or for one day, right? You always want to give them fresh food. I give them fresh food every day, like twice a day, especially the pellets. They will get stale. You have to make sure you close that bag up really tight. Seeds do need to breathe, so you don't really want to be closing that up too tight. They need to breathe, but it's better not to let them breathe inside the bird's cage in the bowl. They're going to get dirty. Just keep them in the container away from your birds. So, the pellets have to be really fresh. So when you're feeding them pellets, if you just got one little bird, you just want to feed them, a tiny amount. You always measure and see what they eat. If every day there's leftover, then feed them less the next day. If they eat all of it, you might need to give them a little bit more, if they're really hungry. And they do get spray millet, but I only give them a piece of millet, and I give it to them every day. I give it to them at nighttime when they're going to bed. Some of my birds won't go in the cage, so I put a little piece of millet, like a small piece, in their cage, and they look forward to it. That's how I get them in now. I do a video on that, how I got them in, and some of them I had to trick to go in and all that. But now I use millet, and they all come flying into their cage to get the millet. So that's what I feed my birds. So basically, chop in the morning, pellets in the afternoon, a little bit of seed in the evening, and a little piece of millet at night. And I do sprout for my birds as well. I'll mix that into the chop, or just feed them at a separate time. Sometimes at night they'll get sprouts. It depends. It varies, but generally that was how I feed them, in the daytime. So make sure you always research on what to feed your bird. It's always changing. And, there's some people who don't even feed their birds seeds or pellets, only fresh food. And owning a bird is a lot of work, because to make that chop and get all that fresh food and to buy it all and to chop it up, it is a lot of work. But, if you love your birds and you really want a bird, you got to take care of them, right? You got to do what you have to do to make them happy. And I believe all birds should have dark leafy greens every day. Sometimes what I do, my birds are all out in the bird room. If you've seen my videos, you'll know, you see all the food I give them. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. And go check out my videos and see all of my birds. But when they're out, even though they get their chop, I'll put a leaf of like collard greens or Swiss chard or romaine lettuce on top of the cage they can go eat. Or I'll put their chop on a bed of, the spring mix you can get in the grocery stores. I usually buy that. I give it to my rabbits as well. I'll put the spring mix on the bottom of the bowl and put the chop on top. And they really love the greens, so they'll eat the chop to get down to the greens. So just make sure, you give your birds a variety. Research about the pellets. Research about the seeds. You want to get your seeds from a good source. You don't want to get it from like the dollar store or a grocery store, because they don't have a good turnaround and they're not really high quality, I would say. You want to go to a nice store, like even a bird store. You want to read the expiry date, right? And you can check to see if your seeds are, not stale. You can try to sprout them. If only 50% grow, then it's not very fresh. If 90% or 100% of them sprout, then it's a very fresh bag of food. Even though the expiry date could be a long way, they can still be stale. They can still be, I've had stale before, and I've tested it. They don't grow. Your bird's going to be eating stale food. They can get sick. There could be mold in there. You won't see the mold. Sometimes you can smell your food. I've opened up bags of food and the smell It doesn't smell right. Even though the expiry date is a few years, it just doesn't smell right. If it doesn't smell right, don't feed it to your birds. I will bring it back. It just, I guess it's like moldy or something. But you always have to be careful, because I've heard of stories, people opening up a fresh bag and all their birds die just from eating that one bag. Even pellets too, you got to be careful, right? See if there's any recalls or anything like that. But yeah, so always please do your research. Please learn. Don't always just feed them like you feed them today and then you feed them like that the rest of their lives. Nutrition is always changing. It's always changing, right? And 5 years from now, it could be totally different. There might not be no more pellets. There might be no more bird seed. You might be feeding them all bugs, I don't know. Anyways, just do your research just to make your birds healthy and make sure they're getting what they need, because sometimes, you know, we find out that this wasn't right for them, or this is wrong, or they're not getting enough of this, or they need more of this, or they need fruits and they don't need fruits, or they need vegetables or they don't need vegetables, or they don't feed them carrots or give them carrots. So, I mean, it's always changing. We learn by doing what we're doing, and by the vets learning stuff as well. When a bird passes, they do necropsies, and they see it over and over and over, and then they realize that this shouldn't have been done and this should be fed. You know, just like people, right? We're always learning new things. So anyways, I want to thank you very much for watching. My dogs are barking. Somebody's home. And make sure you check out all my other videos. I'll put all the links in the description. And check out my Amazon store. I got a lot of nice bird stuff that I use and recommend to you. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.